Our next two speakers are Mr. Neil Inwood, Managing Director, and Mr. John Wellborn, Chairman of Apollo Minerals. Mr. Inwood is a geologist with over 25 years of international experience in the exploration and mining industry across base metals, gold, and specialty metals. He led the geological team that established the world-class endowment of the Panda Hill Niobium project in Tanzania, and most recently assisted Odyssey Gold with their project acquisitions in Murchison Goldfields of Western Australia. He holds a master's degree in geology and is a fellow of the Australasian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy. Mr. Wellborn is a highly accomplished and internationally respected resource company director with significant relevant African experience. Mr. Wellborn is French-speaking and has operated extensively in West and Central Africa, including the successful development and operation of mining projects in Mali, Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Senegal, Gabon, and the Republic of Congo. Mr. Wellborn is also a Fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Australia, a Fellow of the Australasian Institute of Management, and a member of the Australian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy. Mr. Wellborn is currently the Managing Director and CEO of Equatorial Resources. Please welcome Mr. Inwood and Mr. Wellborn to the stage.
Thanks very much for the introduction, Alison. In that long list, there was one role that wasn't mentioned, which is the one I'm here for, which is, among many other things, I'm the president of the Gabon Mining Club here in Perth, which is a collection of Australian mining companies active in Gabon. And so it's a great pleasure to introduce not only Neil Inwood, the Managing Director of Apollo Minerals, but also Jen Min, following up the excellent presentation of His Excellency, the Minister of Mines of Gabon, demonstrating that Elvis truly is in the building. So thanks very much for joining. I think this is a very exciting section of what is always an important conference for African mining companies active, Australian mining companies active in Africa. Yesterday, I promised the Minister that if he delivered his presentation in English, I would provide my introduction in French. So, Minister, with everyone's indulgence, since you gave such an excellent presentation in English, I'll provide an introduction in French before some comments before we hear from Neil and the exciting Crusoe project. So for our francophone friends that are here, bienvenue à tous les visiteurs d'Afrique qui nous ont rejoints ici à l'Afrique Down Under. Au nom de Gabon Mining Club, je salue particulièrement Son Excellence, l'Honorable Elvis Osinji, ministre de Mines de Gabon, et sa délégation. Vive le Gabon! Nous disons que le monde est petit, mais quelqu'un a voyagé à Perth, l'une des villes les plus isolées du monde, sait que le monde est en fait grand. Merci d'être venu nous rencontrer ici, en Australie occidentale. Vous êtes dans un État qui est économiquement tiré par une industrie minière forte, dynamique, prospère et durable. Nous partageons une vision pour réaliser l'opportunité de l'industrie minière en Afrique et surtout au Gabon, et nous sommes impatients de partager les avantages de notre succès mutuel. L'exploitation minière commence par la découverte. Chez Apollo Minerals, nous avons fait une découverte de zinc très excitante, et pour en savoir plus en un petit moment, sur l'entreprise et notre projet, j'ai le plaisir de vous présenter le directeur général, Mr. Neil Inwood. So, quick translation, I said, even though the world is small, anyone who travels to Perth actually knows that the world can be very big. And the Australian miners who are active in Africa are well aware of how long and tedious that journey can be. And so I thanked all of our visitors from Africa, and particularly our colleagues at Apollo Minerals who are here, as well as obviously the Minister and his delegation. Neil is going to talk about our very exciting project. I mentioned how strong Western Australia's mining industry is, and in fact, economically, we're in a state that's driven by a successful and sustainable mining industry. And that mining industry really starts with discovery, and that's the phase that you're going to hear about from Neil in a moment. But to touch on a few aspects of the Minister's presentation, it is incredibly exciting to be operating in Gabon, a country that, like Australia, has a long and successful mining history. You heard from the Minister that Gabon is actually currently the second largest producer of manganese in the world, a bulk commodity not dissimilar from iron ore that requires not only successful discovery and development, but also very strong logistics and infrastructure. Gabon has, as you saw on the map, a transnational railway and a bulk commodity port. Most amazingly, those facilities have been in operation for more than 50 years. So this is, a jurisdiction that can demonstrate the stability of a mining code, a supportive government, a stable democracy. And among all of the opportunities and the optimistic approaches that we see here at Africa Down Under, and the range of jurisdictions that all have opportunities, I'm extremely confident that Apollo Minerals and its fellow members of the Gabon Mining Club are in a country that understands mining and has a very clear pathway for value creation for the government, for the population, for companies, and most importantly for investors. And so I'm very excited about the discovery you'll hear about from Neil. And to get on with that, over to Neil Inwood, the Managing Director of Apollo Minerals.
Thank you, John, for that fantastic introduction. Alison, His Excellency Minister Osinji, and the Gabonese delegation, thank you very much for a wonderful introduction to Gabon and leading on to our project. So, Crusoe is an exciting zinc-led discovery that we're developing in Gabon. We've been operating in the country for approximately 2 years now. And let me see if I can operate this. A brief disclaimer. And our vision is to realise the province-scale endowment of the Crusoe deposit. We're quite convinced that this system is world-class. It's of a scale demonstrated over 80 kilometres at this stage, and we consider it's got larger potential to it as well. And we're exploring that in country quite effectively. We've got rigs on the ground now, the team's on the ground now, and we made a quite exciting discovery yesterday as well. For the investors out there, the investment opportunity, Apollo Minerals controls 100% of the tenement endowment. In November last year, we just did a tenement renewal through the ministry, and again, we thank you for that. That was a very painless exercise for us, which is it's quite a good experience to go through. We're seeing significant current exploration success, and what's unusual about this deposit, we're seeing sulfide mineralisation from surface. So for a base metal deposit, this is really unusual worldwide. You don't normally see this. Normally, your sulfide mineralisation won't come in until 20, 30, 40, 50 metres below surface. So it's a bit of an unusual deposit, but in this case, that's very good. And from our point of view, as the Minister has stated, as John has stated, and I think as Joe will comment on as well, Gabon is a fantastic jurisdiction to be operating in. Very supportive, wonderful safe environment, and a very good skill base as well. Just a little bit about zinc, why we like zinc, why we think it's a great commodity to be in. Zinc, it's actually quite a modern, forward-facing mineral. A lot of people don't realise the uses of zinc and the new uses that zinc is being established for. There's a fundamental supply deficit building. There's 4 of the largest 10 deposits are going to be out of production in the next 10 years. Wood Mackenzie are forecasting a deficit. There's going to be at least a 50% increase in demand over the next 20 years for zinc. What's driving that? Current demand is traditional uses, which is galvanisation. for boats, for vehicles, for buildings, etc. Future demand, you're coming into the EV and the new energy market and energy storage. So that low carbon transition. And zinc is vital for renewable energy sources like wind turbines. It's used for the galvanisation of the wind turbines in the ocean and on land. It's also critical for your solar panels as well, that infrastructure where you need the corrosive resistance. And then there's also the new emerging battery technologies too. And just on that, so there's a couple of facts here on the usages. So, for example, a 100 megawatt solar farm would require 240 tonnes of zinc. Electric vehicles, galvanised steel is the most common form of metal used in the vehicle. Offshore wind turbines, which we discussed, and the renewable energy market. So that's going to there's potential that'll triple the demand the next 20 or 30 years with the uptake of renewables. Glencore forecasts with a 1.5 degree warming scenario that there's going to be a 200% increase in zinc usage due to these new technologies in the next 30 years. So there's quite a strong demand base coming on for zinc in itself. And about Gabon, I think everybody's favourite topic today or this morning, it's a great place. As the Minister commented, in June this year, Gabon was the 55th member of the Commonwealth, which is, I think, as a Commonwealth country as well, is a fantastic, it's good to be part of the club. And there's a growing number of Australian companies coming into country as well. So we've got FMG more recently announced, Armada Metals, our colleagues Genmin, and of course ourselves. So from my point of view, operating in country, it's great to see our peers and compatriots coming into country and we can share experiences, share technical knowledge and grow together. The operating environment is very supportive. It's got a modern mining act. It's got a very effective mines industry, very welcoming mines department, great guys to deal with. Taxation for us is actually pretty neat as well. We get a tax holiday during our exploration period, which is a bit unique in a lot of places around the world. And for a junior explorer like us, it helps us. It means we can spend more money in the ground discovering the metal. Environmental side, Gabon's got the world's largest, about to instigate the world's largest carbon credit program. Fantastic. And the country's got more than 50% hydropower. So when you're looking at a green mining jurisdiction, it's got so many ticks, it's incredible. And Gabon itself has stated it's got a goal to meet emerging country status by 2025. So very, very forward-looking country. So onto the project itself. So Crusoe, what's so incredible about it? So this slide here, the left-hand side is by the numbers, the right-hand side is a bit more detail. So we're looking at an emerging province scale system. We control 100% more than 80 kilometres of trend. In that trend, there's over 300 kilometres of prospective contacts. So when I say they're prospective, we're seeing mineralisation either through rock chips, sampling, mapping, soils over that complete trend. We've got 18 defined prospects. Each of these prospects has got high potential for additional mineralisation. We've drilled 175 drill holes to date. 90% of those have hit mineralisation. And we now have defined 3 target styles. We've got an embayment style, which is a paleo channel. We've got a traditional Mississippi Valley style mineralisation, or MVT. MVT deposits worldwide supply more than 25% of the world's zinc and lead. And just yesterday, we announced that we've seen a high-grade structural style. And we suspect that this style of mineralisation is actually the feeder structures for the mineralisation throughout the whole system. So the map on the right-hand side just illustrates some of the examples of the mineralisation seen throughout the deposit. And just on those target styles, What we're seeing here on this diagram kind of summarises a cross-section throughout the Crusoe system. On the right-hand side, we've got the newly discovered high-grade structural mineralisation. It's associated with faults. The announcement, I'll go into that in a bit more detail on other slides. Kind of in the left-hand, or so the right-hand side of that slide, is the embayment style, and that's the style of mineralisation we've been quite successful in defining, to date. And on the left-hand side of that diagram, we have the MVT style. So the MVT, these are the big picture, large world-scale styles of mineralisation that are currently being mined. We're seeing all potential for all three styles on this system. And most importantly, that MVT style, which is to the west or the left-hand side, has not been tested to date. We've just flown regional EM and magnetics, and this will be, for us, the early steps in establishing targets on that style to the west. We're seeing shallow sulfides at surface. As I said, a little bit unique. The structural high-grade intercepts, So I'll just touch on one of the projects. So this is Dikaki, or TP11. We've focused in the region to the east there. We've had significant success in the last 18 months, and we're seeing significant mineralisation. So numerous hits of, for example, 20 metres at 4% from near surface. And we're seeing this in sulfides, so it's sphalerite and galena. These sulfides have the best metallurgy for processing. And with the shallow nature of the mineralisation, we believe this will have a potential for very low strip potential as we progress the project. This shows an example section through Dikaki. And as you can see from the centre of that diagram, which is the red mineralised envelope, very shallow, outcropping on the east and west sides of the valleys, and significant mineralisation, intercepts of 60 metres at 2.5% from surface, high-grade cores of 20 metres at 4%. So we believe defining mineralisation like this has very strong potential for economic mineralisation. Near Bacamba, so we announced some drill results just yesterday morning. So we're seeing, for the first time, what we think is structurally related massive and semi-massive sulfide mineralisation. What does that mean? We have these holes at the laboratory at the moment, and we've got high expectations for the results back. So that'll take 4 or 5 weeks. But we're seeing massive and semi-massive sulfides. So what that means is plus 20% sphalerite and galena over intervals from, say, 2 to 15 metres thick. We're seeing this from surface, or from 25 metres from surface, so quite shallow. And we're seeing a strong barite association. What does that all mean? We think we're generating some good targeting profiles to identify more examples of this style of mineralisation. And this has implications over the whole Crusoe trend, not just at area number 13, but across those whole 18 targets. This is an example section of the mineralisation that we've identified. So that's a bit of core, which we actually have at our booth from drill hole number 29. What you're seeing there is massive sphalerite and galena. This is high-grade mineralisation that would be fantastic in every deposit. We're awaiting assay results on these, as I said, but we're quite excited about it. And the regional exploration. So this diagram here kind of summarises the work we're doing and how we're trying to pull apart this large system. We've just finished a regional scale EM program. So that's including magnetics. That data's being processed as we speak. We've been doing passive seismic lines, and that's that kind of diagram in the middle. And we're combining these data sets now with the new observations from the massive and semi-massive sulfides from near Bacamba, and with the soil profile from this, that we believe we can pull together a targeting profile, a fingerprint across that 80-kilometre trend. And we hope to grow that region in the future as well. So in summary, Apollo has 100% ownership of the Crusoe system. It's a unique deposit worldwide, shallow sulfide mineralisation, potential low strip ratios, new high-grade discovery, and because of Gabon's unique infrastructure, a potential for a very low carbon footprint as you go through to the mining scenarios. We're looking at province scale. We think we're significantly undervalued compared to our peers. And we've had some very positive initial metallurgy done in 2018, and we hope to follow that up very shortly in the future. And we see an impending zinc deficit going forward worldwide. So we think we're well placed on a future-looking dynamic. So thank you very much for your time. Please see us at the Gabon booth after the presentation. We'd love to tell you more about the project. Thank you.